Hello and welcome back to another Demis Hellen tutorial. Let's create a trance space using Sylenth 1. This is going to be more progressive, but we can adapt it in the future if you wanted to suit other styles of trance or even other genres of music. So the main thing that is going to create this bass is the use of the filters and the mod envelope to open and close the filter how we want it to, so we get that nice warm plucked feeling. So let's take a listen to what it sounds like right now. We want it to be an octave lower, so instead of lowering the MIDI, we'll just lower the octaves of this sound. So we can just click here and drag down one, and we're just going to use one for now. No voices on there, no voices on part B. We're just going to use one oscillator. We'll leave retrig on, and we're going to create our shape here. So I just want it to tail off a little bit here, so we have quite a high decay, but we have the sustain dropping pretty sharply here at number 5. Now moving to the filter, this is our main area here. So we're going to choose low pass, and we're going to choose 12 dB for this demo. So let's have a listen to what that sounds like now. Close it down. Okay, so it's not as deep as I want it to be, so let's switch to 24. We want to get a little bit more of a deeper feeling, and I'm going to drop it another octave as well. I'm going to open the release, just to get rid of that clipping and that clicking, so if I pull that back down, you'll be able to hear it. So just remove that, just dragging that release up a little bit. And we're going to use mod envelope 1 here to open and close this filter. And what we'll do is drag this down so everything is at 0 to start with, and we're going to click the cutoff, and we're just going to choose cutoff A. If you're using both parts, choose A and B, but we're going to choose cutoff A, and we're just using this section. So at the moment you're not going to hear anything happen, but what we want to do is make this envelope open the filter to the maximum or near maximum to give us that nice open filter sound, but then close it straight back down. And what we want to do is use the envelope here the same way we've shaped the sound up here, but we want this to be very quick and snappy, so it opens up the cutoff to say full volume, so fully to this side, and then back down, but pretty sharpishly. So everything's returned to 0, and what we'll do is we'll say increase that to 100% so we can hear everything that it's going to do. And as I increase the decay, you'll hear it. So now we can hear that we've opened up this and we've got the decay just opening enough to let that cutoff open a little bit to give it a little bit of character. You could hear the raw sound before, it was just cut off and we had no transient, no attack to the sound, and now we have our attack. We don't want it to be too short because it sounds a little bit too clicky and you start to lose the tonal quality of the sound. Let's have it about there, and you can see I've dropped the mix here of how much of that envelope affects the cutoff. What we're doing is amplifying the mod setting that we have of how harshly it's going to do that to the cutoff. And now we have the mod envelope set up with the filters, we can start looking at other things like changing the wave type, using voicing, changing the retrig, but we want to be concerned if we start using the voices that we don't jump into phase issues, and that's where we can use scopes to help us and make sure that our sound is not just going into anti-phase and creating a mess in your mix. So welcome the scope. You can use a free one by Voxengo called Span. I'm using the Killworth Audio one here, the Vengeance one. They essentially have the same monitoring techniques here. We have antiphase and mono. We want this to stay on this side here. We have stereo in the middle, but we want it to be more mono compatible. So let's have a look at the sound right now. So it's doing pretty good. It's staying there. It's not getting too close to the stereo area, and it's definitely not jumping into the antiphase. So when we start working with voicing, we want to turn retrig off so it's not re-triggering anything at all, and we increase the voicing, and let's see what that now does to the stereo field. We get a lovely sound in the headphones, but if we switch that to mono, you're going to lose that sound. It's going to disappear. Every time it jumps into the red, that sound is just not going to be prominent in your mix, and it's just going to be jumping around all over the place. So how can we deal with that, and how can we stop that happening? We can control the stereo image here, so we can have it wide, or we can have it really narrow, set to 0, essentially mono. So just watch the phase here when I move this over. Just watch this phase here change when I drag this. Now you can see that we've turned the width or the stereo down to 0. We're monocompatible, but we have lost that width in the stereo image. So let's drag it back up. We can get somewhere like that, and we still have stereo detail, but we're not dipping into antiphase, and we're definitely not going to get any sort of weird anomalies happening. And now you can see how easy it is to control. You can use the Voxengo span, which is free, to monitor your antiphase and mono compatibility, and then just play around with these 3 settings here. Like the detune is going to give you a little bit more stereo width, obviously to the point where it starts to sound out of tune, and then the stereo is just essentially a width, and it'll just narrow it down to the point where you see that jump into mono compatibility area, and it will all start keeping in line with the rest of your track. And there we have it. We've created a simple trance bass just using one oscillator, one filter, the mod envelope to open and shape how that filter opens and closes, and then we have put that through its paces in the compatibility test here using the stereo, detune and phase. Mainly the stereo is your friend here. You don't want it super wide, you want to save all that stereo detail for the rest of your other sounds that you'll have, your atmospheres and your pads and things like that. Your basses, typically you just want them straight down the middle. But if you're wanting to create something that has a bit of width and warmth in it, then you can use voices, but just be careful how they are positioned. Always use a scope just to check out where they're sitting, and that will stop your mix collapsing from underneath you when you're building the rest of the elements. And as with every video, by all means, follow along and recreate the preset, or head over to the Patreon page and you can download it from the members area over there and support the channel at the same time. And that brings us to the end of the video. If you did like the video, let me know down in the comments and hit the like button as well so it shares it with other like-minded producers. And finally, hit the subscribe and the bell icon so that you get notifications in your feed when I upload. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.